Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Taking the Lead, where I have the opportunity to share a number of terrific, impressive, respected leaders with you. We couldn't get an impressive, respected leader today, so we had to settle for Steve Cody. He knew I was going to do that. But Steve knows he's someone I have admired for decades now as a leader. Let me tell you a little bit about him before we bring him in. He, of course, is the founder and CEO of Peppercomm. He's the chairman of the Institute for Public Relations. He's a member of the Arthur W. Page Society and a member of the advisory committee for both the College of Charleston and the University of Florida. And he's been named one of Northeastern University's 100 most successful alumni. And there's a lot more, but let's bring in and welcome Steve Cody.
Thank you, Ken. I really appreciate the introduction. I would just advise your viewers, listeners, not to believe a word of it.
Okay. Of this segment or what I said about
the intro.
I think those, many of you have seen Steve and I on Facebook and email, so you know the routine. So anyway, all right, we are gonna ask some questions today. That's the good thing. So number one, you are known for many years for requiring every employee of Peppercomm to take stand-up comedy training. You've been after me for years to do it. But all kidding aside, what have you learned about not being a great PR pro, but about being a leader or leadership from being a stand-up comedian?
Well, the number one thing is vulnerability. When you are performing stand-up or improvisational comedy in front of your direct reports, and you fail, and I fail often, and my personal and professional tagline is expect less. So it brings an authenticity, and it also enables others to buy into my belief, which a lot of people say, but I don't believe, live the words, and that is it's okay to fail and to learn from failure. So they see me fail routinely when we just did a session 10 days ago with about 15 of us doing improv sessions, and I mucked it up royally. So it brings an authenticity, a vulnerability, and I think an approachability for even the most junior individual at Peppercomm to know it's okay to speak up and to say whatever he or she wants, within the boundaries. And that's the other thing that comedy has done for us as an agency. It's given us boundaries in terms of what is and isn't acceptable to say or to write. So knock on wood, we haven't had any issues having to do with intentional or unintentionally unfortunate words or expressions. So it provides so many different benefits, and the other thing it does is I get to know my employees on a completely different level, because in comedy we talk about what keeps us up at night, what makes us angry. So there are a lot of shared things, whether it's the New York Mets, whether it's United Airlines, whatever it is, I'll find things that I never knew about people that I've been working with for 3 or 4 years. And that creates a whole new level of, or depth of understanding and connectivity.
So going back to something you said, I want to share a list of names with you. Ella Fitzgerald, the Beatles, Charlie Chaplin, Bill Gates, Oprah, and Dolly Parton. Do you know what they all have in common?
I don't.
They've celebrated their failures. They've acknowledged that they learned from the failures. They see their failures as steps on the road to success. They don't hide them. They literally celebrate them. And I think in addition to, what a great dinner party that would be, I think that very diverse group can really inspire us for further failure.
No, I agree, Ken. And when I do write my autobiography, I've already selected the title, Always Wrong.
I know there won't be a chapter dedicated to me, but I am making my request for a sentence or two. Is that, do we have video evidence of that right now?
We have it. I would invite you to write the foreword.
Okay. Wow. I would love that. It's a bit of a risk on your part, but let's go there. And you actually reminded me of something talking about vulnerability, because I share your view that leaders can be vulnerable. But I'm going to go back. I think the first guest blog post I ever wrote was called Get Your Game Face On. And it was mostly about you and your views of, not sharing fear, not
Mhm.
sharing fear to the troops. If if you have some fear, share it with your dog. I know you've had many dogs over the year. Share it with your spouse or your peer group, but you don't share your fear. You get your game face on when you're out there with your troops. And the blog was about, you had the perfect storm of three terrible things happening, probably in the 2008 09 downturn. And
Mhm.
you just were out there with your optimism. And I think that inspired your people to bounce back. But at the same time, you can show your vulnerability. And I think those are two different things. All right, let's move on. People don't want to hear from me, they want to hear from you. So while you don't require your employees to climb mountains, except for your clients, not that you require your clients to climb mountains, you require your employees, the Peppercomm employees, to climb mountains for your clients. So kudos on that. But what have you learned about leading yourself or leading others from climbing mountains?
Well, climbing is very much like comedy in that you cannot do anything but focus on the moment. So it is, both of those pursuits are my versions of mindfulness. So what I've learned from climbing in particular is climbing is very much a team activity. There's no competitiveness. It's not about who's the fastest up the mountain. It's not about who attacks the toughest pitch. It's everyone pulling for everyone else. So the teamwork is fundamental. And you entrust your life. I entrust my life to my guide. So in the same way, not that my employees are entrusting their lives, maybe their livelihoods. I have a lot of respect for being a guide, if you will, at Peppercomm. So one of my takeaways is certainly, I have responsibility for the livelihoods and the emotional and physical health and well-being of my employees. In the same way, my mountain guide has responsibility for my physical health, whether I'm climbing Kilimanjaro, whether I'm down in the Andes, or whether I'm up in New Hampshire. So I put my full trust in my guide and my teammates, on the climb. And the same thing here at Peppercomm. So it's very much a transferable learning lesson. And the other thing I take away from climbing is the emotional, physical, and spiritual feeling that I get, the sense of accomplishment, the sense of teamwork. It's the closest thing I come to a spiritual event or occurrence. And whenever I come back from a climbing excursion, I am so fresh and so recharged. I cannot sit on a beach and I cannot read a book.
So, I just to bring some of this together, mountain climbing and comedy. If you want to imagine what I would be like mountain climbing, catch the Seinfeld episode where Costanza and Kramer and Elaine's bimbo go mountain climbing. I would be George Costanza. I would bring the sandwiches, but I might be responsible for a very bad outcome. And I'd be quite terrified. Okay.
Well,
So
I respect
oh,
that. I
good, thank
respect
you.
it.
It's something we share a lot of things, but that is an experience I'm afraid we'll never share. You have more chance of getting me up there doing stand up, but
Okay.
that's not that hard to imagine. Okay. Of the 13 members of the senior team at Peppercom, 9 are women. And you've contributed to and helped and guided the careers and supported many other women PR leaders. Yet here we are, and survey after survey, many this year, show this remaining huge gender disparity. And I'd like to challenge you and ask you, what are you doing to change this in the industry?
Well, the fact that I'm on the board of IPR, I'm on several committees at Arthur Page. I just joined the advisory board of Communications Week. I'm part of the Diversity Action Alliance. I'm part of the Diversity Marketing Coalition, which looks to support women of color entrepreneurs. So I think the best way to affect change is to be a part and a very engaged part of the industry organizations that have the power, that have the reach to affect change. So I think it's sure there are things I can do within Peppercomm, but I think I can have far more impact to be the catalyst and fully immersed and involved in all of the initiatives that IPR, Page, Communications Week, College of Charleston, University of Florida are advocating for. I think I can do far more in terms of changing that equation and advocating on behalf of women, breaking through that glass ceiling. And the other day I heard about the broken rung, which is the rung just below the top of the ladder. Mm-hmm. That so many women, get to that next penultimate rung, if you will, and for whatever reason, they're not there. So, I think my work with the industry coalitions will have the most impact in terms of short term. And then personally, the sooner I get the heck out of the way and let one of my women run Peppercomm, the better. There have been several coup attempts, which is why I don't disclose my location anymore, Ken.
Probably good thinking. Let me ask you a follow-up question. We have a lot of agency leaders and second in commands who watch Taking the Lead, or at least I'd like to believe that. What is the one most important thing they can do right now to start to close that gender disparity gap?
Well, the sad thing is they have to overachieve. It's very easy for a white guy to just do his thing. So it's sad that I have to say they have to overachieve. But that is the hurdle, I think, standing in the way. It's an artificial hurdle, and it's unfortunate. But unfortunately, women have to do a little bit better and be a little bit smarter and a little bit more passionate, all of which they are, in order to supplant the male leader in the corner office. It's an unfair reality, but it is reality. So, and I think everything that we can do, we being the white male standing in the way, to take away those extra burdens and judge them purely on merit, and not saying, gee, do this, raise your two kids, they'll balance this, balance that. The less pressure we can give them and the more accolades we can provide in terms of they're doing a great job at just doing what's expected of them, and not having, and recognizing they've got all of these additional burdens that we don't have. I think being more open to that is what every white male still sitting in the CEO seat needs to be aware of.
I was very fortunate. I started my career working for two women glass ceiling breakers, Jean Schoonover and Barbara Way Hunter. And they had bought the firm long before I was there, DAY, like I think 1969. I mean, women did not, there were so few women who owned agencies in those days. And they were such great leaders. I learned so many leadership lessons from them both, because they were very different personalities, very different leaders. And then you look at Barbara Hunter, who in her mid 60s started her own agency. And let me tell you, this was probably the early 90s. And in the early 90s, people in their early to mid 60s didn't start new agencies. They just didn't, and turned it into such a great success. And then for many years, it's been run by Grace Thompson-Leong, who and I know, and also a great leader. So
well, the other thing, Ken, that you and I share is Counselors Academy.
Oh, sure.
And obviously, those are smaller agencies, but many of them are run by female entrepreneurs. So being able to rub shoulders with them from the very beginning, going back 20, 25 years ago, and seeing the Elise Mitchells and Michelle Olsons and the Abby Finks. So I think a lot of that rubbed off on certainly on me, in terms of, recognize them at least as peers, if not superiors. In terms of the skills, the additional skills that they bring to the table.
Oh, they're all superior to you. Let's be very
well. That's a given. There are a few people in this
world.
Elise,
Abby, Michelle, weigh in. Come on.
There are a few people who aren't superior to me, Ken.
That's a good point. Now, I'm working on it, but I'm not going to get there. Okay. Last question. You went through what you've termed a Kramer versus Kramer style agency divorce 3 years ago.
Yep.
And here you were, forced to really become a hands-on entrepreneur once again, and a business builder at an age when, frankly, many agency founders, well, other than Barbara Hunter, were right. looking at retiring. And Peppercomm is killing it. You're killing it with new wins all the time. You're killing it with awards. How'd you do it?
Well, A, necessity is the mother of invention. B, I always saw Peppercomm as my third child. So I was not going to let Peppercomm fall apart as a result of this very nasty divorce. So I was very fortunate. As you said, 9 of my 13 senior executives are female. On the account management side, I have 3 very, very senior, talented women who helped me run the day-to-day client business and nurturing of our people. And then, as you know, we brought in Tara Lillian as our chief talent officer and partner. We have Nicole Kwan, our controller, and I have an external CFO who's phenomenal. So I had 2 groups who were much smarter than me, who helped me, deal with the post-traumatic stress syndrome, which was very, very real. I would wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweat for many, many months. I mean, it was devastating. But to be surrounded by A, supportive people, B, with skills that I didn't have, and especially on the administrative, financial, HR side, I was able to learn quickly what to do, how to do it, and the importance of cash flow, the importance of accounts receivable, the importance of taking the culture to the next level. I mean, I think what I did too, which was really beneficial, is I took the best of what once was, and quickly deep sixed the toxicity that prompted the divorce in the first place. So since the very beginning, we have been really focused. So they're not 2 people with 2 different worldviews. There's one group of individuals rowing together. So I'm using a lot of consultant speak, but that's been the fundamental difference. Surrounding myself with people who are smarter, more talented than me, and also provided the emotional support I need to get through that time period.
Well, you have absolutely killed it. And I just want to thank you for being here today. Thinking about mountain climbing makes me wake up in a cold sweat, so that's not going to happen. But I really appreciate the insights and just keep killing it. Just keep killing it. Why stop, right?
Well, I'm going to stop because I'm an aging white guy and I want to give a woman a chance to run Peppercomm in the very near future. So that's the only reason I'd stop. But I wouldn't stop climbing or comedy or consulting or guest lecturing or all the other things I love doing.
Or making fun of me.
Or making fun of you. Not you, your dress code.
My dress, yes. If many of you look on Facebook and LinkedIn, and you'll hear Steve's. I was gonna wear the tweed jacket that Steve just hates, but I didn't. I didn't think that would be good karma for this. I think we did much better with the true black turtleneck. So I think we're going to bring it to a close. Steve Cody, thank you so much for being here and for reminding me what a great leader you are, and why I'm so glad we've been friends for decades, if you can believe that.
Yes, so, well, right back at you, Ken. It's a pleasure. I'm a huge fan. I just adore everything you do. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in person at a Cuban restaurant in Asbury Park soon.
Wouldn't that be great? You got to pick the right one. Got to pick the
Yes.
right one. Okay. Till next time, folks, we'll see you on Taking the Lead.